I'm talking to Héctor Olavarría Tapia. He's Director General for Telecommunications and Broadcasting Policy in Mexico. That's right, isn't it? Now, common to many countries, you're rolling out broadband across your country. Already you have quite good mobile telephone penetration, but you're taking quite a novel approach to the rollout of high-speed internet.
Right now we're auctioning spectrum for the mobile companies so they can offer new and better broadband mobile services to the Mexican population. And as well we're auctioning some a pair of lines of the cable of guard of the electricity, our main electricity company.
Okay, so the idea is this is an insulating sleeve, as it were, around the electricity cable, and you pass the internet down that sleeve.
Well, we pass data through that sleeve, and we use that line to transport data.
Okay, and so this is a wonderful solution for countries that maybe don't want to roll out new copper wire, don't want to pay for satellites necessarily, but already have a well-established national grid.
Yes. The distance of these lines is 23,000 kilometers. So it's very important because it also reaches some areas in Mexico that are a bit far away from the capital cities. So it's very, very important. It's a very important measure for us, and we think it's gonna increase the transportation of data within the Mexican territory, and it's gonna make competition stronger within or among the service providers in Mexico.
Now, Mexico is a vast country. What other issues, apart from geographic, do you have to deal with? I understand you have many indigenous communities as well that you're working very hard to bring online. What are the issues you're having to deal with there?
We have now an economic fund that was approved by the Congress a couple of years ago, that is used by the government to increase the penetration of telecommunications services in the Mexican territory. Up to now, we have reached almost 11,000 communities within the Mexican territory. And well, it is a very ambitious program. And we're apart from that fund, we're celebrating some agreements with the service providers in order to have some obligations, social obligations of coverage some rural areas within the Mexican territory.
Because sometimes for private companies, it is not beneficial to them. They don't get the payback on their investment if they extend to a small community.
There's a belief that they are not going to recover all the investments that they make, and that's why the government is going with them in order to provide the services for the population.
Give us an idea of some of the sensitivities involved in giving ICTs to some of these communities that are culturally quite discreet up until now, and there may well be resistance within those communities to having this sort of communication installed.
Yes. In fact, we haven't found any resistance of these communities. On the contrary, I think they are urged to receive that kind of education, to receive that kind of communications, to connect with the world. We cannot allow that the Mexicans are not connected to the world anymore.
But are there negotiations that have to take place with these communities so that the ICTs are being delivered to them on their terms rather than on the terms of an overarching government?
In Mexico, the population, as I mentioned, it's more eager to receive the services. They don't see the communications or the telecommunications as a barrier or as a one that is getting into their customs. No, they're using communications in order to spread their customs and the way of thinking. In fact, we have some of the indigenous communities that are using broadband services, internet services, in order to expand the way of thinking, their way of thinking. So I think they want to be familiarized with technologies, and they are using technologies.
How are ICTs being used for development in Mexico? Because Mexico is one of those countries that is developing, but also has areas that are extremely well developed within urban areas. How are ICTs being used for development?
I think that mainly for educational purposes. Right now we have a very ambitious program with the Ministry of Education, of Public Education, in order to reach more communities and to provide very good content within the network, or using the network. So I think that for educational purposes, the communications, telecommunications, and broadband services are very well used.
And is there anything you've heard here, just finally, that has that you found might be something that could apply in the Mexican context?
Well, yes, definitely. These kind of conferences where you can hear the experiences of too many countries, 191 countries, it's always very, very useful. Even though we may have some different kind of systems, political systems, I think that every one of us is fighting and it's looking for the same goal, that it's reaching and that it's giving and improving telecommunication services to our communities.